So what's up everyone, it's Accurate again with a new video on a piece of gear to make beats on. Arturia just dropped this one, the DrumBrute Impact. Woo. So let's take a closer look. This is an analog drum machine with 10 different sounds accessible through these 8 pads in the bottom. Every sound also has a little trick up its sleeve that's called color, more on that later. And the step sequencer that's on this one is pretty much exactly the same as on the previous version of the DrumBrute, which by the way is awesome. Where the older DrumBrute has a filter on the main output, the DrumBrute Impact instead has a distortion circuit. Of course, we're going to take a listen to this one and see how it actually sounds, but in my mind, this one feels more modern and more punchy and has a bit more character than the original DrumBrute. That might be a good thing or a bad thing for you, I don't know. I really like the sound of this one, I like the looks of it as well, but I don't love this orange color, I need to be totally honest about that. Well, let's connect it to the whole setup and see how it actually sounds. So everything is set at a happy medium here and it all sounds like this. So the kick and the 2 snares has pretty much the same settings, one for the pitch or the tone and one for the decay. This pad holds the high and the low tom, which can be pitched up and down. The cymbal has a decay knob, or you can switch it to a cowbell. That's what it is. Then we have the closed and the open hi-hat. They both share the same tone. And you can change the decay of the open hi-hat. Now the last pad over here is actually an FM drum, which has a pitch envelope to it, so it sounds like So you can change the pitch of the carrier, the modulator, the FM amount, the decay, or the volume. So that's pretty much the basics of the sounds of the pads controlled by the knobs, but I also said it has a trick up its sleeve, so let's take a look at the color. Now this button pretty much triggers a new version of every sound on the unit. So if I go to the kick drum, put it into color mode, it sounds like so before, after, before, after. So it's still the same kick drum, but it sounds really different. Let's do the same thing with the snare. And the second snare as well. Let's do the same with the closed hi-hat, because that changes a lot as well. Now the really cool thing here is that you can actually trigger when the machine switches into the alternative version of the sound. Now let me demonstrate that by just creating a small little sequence of the closed hi-hat. Go to step mode and just hit every other note here so we have a straight... Okay, nice and simple. Now let's put some color on step 5 and 11 and let's listen to it. So it triggers an alternate version of the same sound. Let's do the same thing with the snare. Let's go for the normal one on 5 and 13 and let's put another extra one on 16 and put that one in color. So that actually changes that one quite a lot, especially in a sequence like this. Say I want to put those 2 in accents so they're even louder. Now the difference between them is even more obvious, and that's kind of cool. You have one pad and pretty much 4 different sounds. One normal, one accented, one colored, and one colored with accent. So 4. Now let's lower the volume of the closed hi-hat and do the same thing with the cymbal. Add a couple of accented notes and a lot of normal ones as well. Listen to that. and add some color to some of them. And let's introduce that height again. And of course, let's add a kick drum as well. Turn down the decay, turn down the pitch. So that's that, and next up let's add a snare one as well on 5 and 13. Let's add a ghost note. Add some color to that one. In color mode, just sounds like a totally different sound. Now let's add some swing to the sequence and see if we can feel it. So basically the color function just makes this drum machine much more than it seems to be at first. Now I just created a quick little sequence of 16 steps, but you can actually go up to 64 steps per pattern and then link pattern together and create a track that way. So that's pretty cool as well. And by the way, you're not locked into the system of 16 steps either. You can go hit your last step button and choose whichever step you want on that specific sound to be the last step of that little loop. That way you can create polyrhythmic stuff that will always change and never be the same exact loop repeating over itself again. The swing and randomness amount can be applied to the entire sequence if you just want that, or you can hit one of the specific sounds, hit current track and let the swing or the randomness be applied to that specific sound and nothing else. So that's also a really nice way to customize your loops. Now I'm running the DrumBrute Impact totally standalone here with the audio just connected to my audio interface. But you can connect this one up to external gear and make it sync over USB, MIDI or clock. Speaking of connections, let's turn this one around and take a look at the back of it. Starting from the right we have the power switch, the power input and a USB-B connection. After that we have a classic MIDI DIN connection in and out, as well as a clock in and out. After that we have the individual outputs for the FM drum, the hi-hats, the snares and the kick drum on mini jacks, followed by the main output and a headphone output. I haven't started using the individual outputs just yet on either this one or the older DrumBrutes, but on the old one you had individual outputs for all the 12 sounds, so that's definitely a difference with this one if you're into stuff like that. So my final words on this first look at the DrumBrute Impact is that it's really similar to the classic DrumBrute when it comes to the sequencer and the functionality of it all. It's smaller, feels a little bit more plasticky, it doesn't have the nice wooden sides that I like a lot. It doesn't have the same number of individual outputs, but the sound of this one is really different from the original DrumBrute, and I like this one a lot as well. I gotta say that I totally love the color function as well. It basically gives you 2 kick drums, 4 snare drums and a bunch of variations of the hi-hat when you're working with the cymbal as well. And what's not to just totally love about that thing? It's a smart design choice and it's really fun and simple to add it to a sequence. Now I really hope I get around to make a proper beat making video soon using the drums from the DrumBrute Impact with the sequencer and everything that it brings to the table. And that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching and all the support I get on the channel. I'm really trying to step up my Instagram game as well, so please check me out on Instagram and follow me over there as well if you like stuff like this. Take care now, ha det gott, hej!